So, hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name's Chris Bailey, if you didn't know already. You might have seen the website or seen the GreedyGoblin sponsorship on the Games website. I am the GreedyGoblin, if you like. So, basically, I started GreedyGoblin software a few years ago, mainly because up until that point I'd been an SAP freelancer, so nothing to do with the gaming industry whatsoever. And I got to a point where I was just sick to the teeth of doing reports after reports after reports and doing the same old thing. So there was no challenge left in it for me anymore. So foolishly, maybe, I decided to start up GreedyGoblin software and try and fulfill a childhood dream, as I'm sure it was for many of you, of producing a video game. Quite naively, but anyway, here I am. So today I just wanted to sort of go over a couple of the tools that I use for creating video games. One being the visual scripting framework, which I developed myself, which I'll talk more about later. But firstly, I just wanted to cover the SunBurn game engine, which is a game engine produced by Synapse. Excuse me if I'm rubbish at this, I haven't done a presentation since I was at school, so I just have to bear with it. And I'll probably just be popping the idea to some of my notes.
Good practice for GEC.
Yeah. So this isn't really intended to be like an in-depth sort of technical approach to how do I create a game with SunBurn. It's just more of an overview of what it is and what it does. So just for anybody who doesn't might want to try it out. So what is SunBurn? Well, like I said, it's a game engine. Its main target is the independent and hobbyist game developers. So it's quite a low entry level price for a license. So like you said there, $150. So basically, it's built on the .NET framework, so you use C# to build your games. But it started life as a lighting and rendering engine rather than a full-blown game engine. And it's only more recently it's moving on now to being more of a fully featured game engine. So yeah, it's built on the XNA framework. Unfortunately, as I'm sure many of you know, XNA is dead. I don't know if anybody didn't know that, but Microsoft have kind of withdrawn support for it. So unfortunately, that's the case. Even though it's a great framework for people wanting to get into building their own games. But that's going to change, and I'll come on to that in a bit. So, yeah, it really provides an easy way of achieving really great visuals within your game. So really great sort of looking graphics, as you can see from the image there, and handles all the lighting and rendering shadows and things like that. So it's multi-platform because it's built on XNA, so you've got the usual targets of Windows Desktop, Xbox 360 and Windows Phone 7. It's got a nice, simple editor built into it that you can just launch straight from the game. That gives you scene manipulation kind of tools. But there's no in previous versions there was no audio or physics API or anything like that because it was purely just a writing engine. So moving on to the present, so version 2, which is the current version of SunBurn, they've started to kind of expand it a bit more, and it's becoming more of a game engine, if you like. So it's still, it's got the same platform targets as before. As I've said, it's still dependent on XNA at this point in time. So if you bought a copy today, you would need DSC framework. So anyone who doesn't know what XNA is, by the way? Okay, right, excellent. So XNA was a framework produced by Microsoft for the kind of independent hobbyist gaming market as a kind of an easy entry-level API for hobbyist game developers to use.
Yeah, is that the kind of thing that would have been used for, on Xbox you've got the sort of the indie?
Yes, so the Xbox indie marketplace, that's all stuff that's built using XNA.
Okay.
So yeah, cool. So now we've got some additional features like plugins, which is, does anybody use Unity? Or has Unity? So that's got similar sort of add-on functionality, hasn't it? You can build your own content and have your own features, if you like. So SunBurn now provides that similar sort of functionality. You can generate your own plugins to then bolt onto the SunBurn framework, which I've done myself. I built a physics plugin and a vehicle plugin, which allows you to build vehicles into your game nice and easily. The current version does actually have built-in physics, but mine kind of expands on what the built-in physics provides. We'll go into that in a bit. It's now got an audio API in there. You can build your own custom GPU shaders using HLSL. I'm not talking alien language or GPU shader language, so you can build your own sort of fancy shaders within stuff. It's got an HDR high dynamic range shader built in to provide nice sort of bloom effects and stuff. It supports light mapping now, so static light maps, based on lighting. And it's primarily for 3D, really. The focus of it is more around 3D games rather than 2D games. However, you can do 2D games with it. There's nothing stopping you doing that. And your sprites will actually benefit from the lighting and shadows provided by the SunBurn game engine, so your sprites will actually sort of cast a shadow, which is quite cool. So there's a few extra editor features, such as prefabs, which allows you to kind of group components together, see objects within the game sort of package. There's prefabs which you can then use to sort of replicate. Components which allow you to sort of add extra bits of logic once you see objects. And it's got support for Xbox 360 avatars, which I've never used, but there's lots of people that do. So what's up there? It's kind of into the screen. So the future of SunBurn, going on to version 2.1, which is soon to be released. Like I say, at the moment it's XNA independent. Unfortunately, Microsoft has decided to put support for it. So version 2.1 will see it become XNA independent, which will allow obviously more target platforms. Their grand vision is to basically have native C#, which will allow you to write games in C# and then deploy natively to any platform that you want. How they intend to do that sounds quite complicated to me. So, from what I've been told, on release of 2.1, it will support DirectX 11, which obviously means support for Windows 8 store apps, or Metro, whatever you decide to call it these days. So you'll be able to deploy your games on Windows RT tablets, as is shown there. That's SunBurn running on a Windows RT tablet. But then further ahead, the intention is to support iOS, Linux, Android, platforms like that. So that'll be supporting OpenGL as well as DirectX. So there'll be better 2D support as well. Don't really know what details are behind that. They've just said there's going to be better 2D support as well. And support for shading model 4, which is shaders, geometry shaders, things like that. So yeah, all really cool. Is there anything I've missed? So how does it work? Well, like I said, at the moment, talking about the current release, it's a .NET library. So you've got the SDK DLL, which provides the editor. If you're creating a brand new project from within Visual Studio, it's got like a starter kit template. So that just gives you the basic outline of your game, like a template if you like, and then you just go and plug your code in to whatever suits your workflow. And I think that's what I like about SunBurn. Whereas, I mean, I've only dabbled in Unity, but from what I can see, and something might tell me I'm wrong here, but it kind of ties you into a certain workflow, so you work how Unity wants you to work. Am I right in saying that? Or?
I don't know what you mean.
Sorry, I thought you said you
a bit.
I mean, I've only touched on it, so
it's pretty flexible, really.
Right.
It's pretty flexible.
But everything seems to be kind of through the.
It's more. It's very code heavy, mono heavy.
Right. Okay.
Rather than this, which I assume has more sort of inbuilt prefabs.
Right. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood Unity, because I saw Unity as more of a visual tool through the front end, the editor and stuff.
I think
and
that's
everything was kind of added on component-wise.
I think that's how they want to sell it, but you can come up with your own custom anything and plug it in.
Okay. So yeah, well, I like SunBurn because it allows more flexibility to work how you want to do it, basically. So you can just get stuck right into the code if you want to.
It's more about programming something in a programming language and using this as sort of libraries and to enable all this stuff. Then
yeah, kind of. I mean, it works how you want to work. So
like Hammer or something. That was sort of level editor /
oh right, okay.
Or like the Unreal Engine or something where you're doing it all in that. Just so that's more Unity. And this is more using any programming language you like, and then just.
Well, I mean, it's using C#, so you have to use C#, which I like because I find it easy, to be honest. It just seems intuitive to me. But yeah, if you want to get stuck in with the code, you can just do everything in code if you want. You can totally ignore the editor and just do everything in code, which is a bit of a nightmare if you ask me. But it does have a simple editor as well for generating your scenes. So, like I say, you build your game using the SDK, and then once your game's finished, you take out the SDK DLL, put it in the redistributable DLL, and it's all packaged up and ready to distribute. So, what types of lighting does it support? First and foremost, you've got real-time dynamic lighting, which is obviously the most impressive. So you've got dynamic shadow lights, swinging and moving around and doing whatever. And that's all real-time. Obviously, that's the most expensive performance-wise. And it's not supported on Windows Phone 7 because you know, Phase 7 doesn't support custom shaders, but quite frankly, who cares about Let's see if we're missing anything. No. So that's obviously the most impressive looking visually is the real-time dynamic light. But if you're seeking optimal performance, you're going to really be needing to break down your lighting, which means pre-generating the lighting within the game while you're building. So as you're building your scene, you bake down the lighting, as they say, which basically stores it in light maps, which are just kind of files which describe the lighting and shading. And then at runtime, all the GPU has to do is render textures based on those light maps. But obviously that means if you want to move a light within that scene, you've got to recalculate the light maps, which means you can't do it at runtime. It's got to be, I mean, you could on like Windows, you could technically, but Xbox and stuff you wouldn't. So yeah, it's great. I'm losing the thread there. So it's great for if you've got lots of static lights within your scene, because it offers you a better performance. So it's not going to really bog down the process of trying to sort of generate all this dynamic lighting. So you get the best performance out of that. There is an alternative, which is composite stroke approximate lighting, which is similar to background lighting or static lighting. But the thing is with static lighting, if you've got, say, a room that's got a few windows in, the light's shining through those windows, casting light and shadows everywhere, and you've got then a character walking through that room, if all the lights are static, that character's not going to receive any lighting whatsoever from any lights that are being cast into that room, because they're all pre-calculated. It's not calculating anything at runtime. With approximate lighting, what it does simply is use the light maps to kind of approximate the shadows cast on an object that is dynamic, so say moving through that room. So the quality of the shadows isn't going to be as good as something like dynamic lighting, but it's a trade-off. You know, if you need the performance, you would offer something like that. According to what kind of game you're producing, what you supply themselves. So they're really the three types of lighting that it supports, and it's all really easy to use. There's no, you know, you don't really have to understand much about it. It's all kind of handled for you, which I like. Not in the gaming industry, it's, you know, it's a huge learning curve for me, really. So tools like this are excellent, really. So plugins, which I touched on earlier, which is the other more recent feature of version 2. Like I say, with Unity, you've got similar sort of features, so you can add your own features into the game engine. So like I say, I developed the physics plugin, which is based on a physics engine, open source physics engine called Beppo. I don't know if has anybody heard of that? Or
What's it stand for?
No idea. No idea. The guy, do you know? Or no? No, I don't know, to be honest. But the guy who created it's called Norbo. Excellent guy, really genius guy, and offers great support. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you've not come across it before. And you need a physics engine, because we was looking at a physics engine. Definitely worth checking out. It's open source, it's completely free. Go and download it, you tweak the code to do exactly what you want.
Better everywhere physics unit, maybe.
Sorry?
Better everywhere physics unit?
Possibly. I think there was a thread on the forum that was, somebody asked that question, what does Beppu stand for? And he didn't give a response, and everybody was just coming up with ideas of what it might actually stand for.
Excellent.
So who knows? Who knows? But whatever it stands for, it's great anyway, but it's worth checking out. So I've kind of just used that physics engine and built a wrapper around it for SunBurn to make it easy to use within the SunBurn editor. And the built-in physics also, in version 2, because now it comes with physics built in, also uses Beppu. So the guys who created SunBurn decided, yeah, we're going to use Beppu as well. They've kind of taken Beppu and then kind of stripped it back. So it's a very much a simplified version of Beppu. So whereas the built-in version only supports boxes, spheres, and static meshes. So I don't know if you understand how much about physics engines and stuff, but usually the way it works, say you've got a character in your game, that 3D character is made up of thousands of vertices and basically little triangles. To actually test for collisions against every I forgot the word.
Every other object.
Every
Body circuit.
surface, thank you. That'll do. Surface of that character is going to take some processing power. So realistically, games don't do that unless it's really necessary. So usually a physics engine will just kind of generate an invisible, simplified mesh around that character and test for collisions against that. So a human figure may just have like a capsule or a cylinder around that character. You don't see it obviously, but the collisions are tested against that capsule rather than the actual character itself. So like I say, built-in physics only supports boxes, spheres, and static meshes, which by nature don't move. Static meshes do follow the so say you had a terrain, you would use a static mesh to follow the exact terrain because the terrain doesn't really change. My physics plugin supports not only those but also expands it into cones, cylinders, capsules, mobile meshes. And recent addition was a ball socket joint. So you can do all sorts of crazy physics and crazy stuff like that with it. So yeah, there's a lot more sort of functionality in my plugin, even if I do say so myself. The other one I created was the vehicle plugin, which I'll show you both of these in a second actually. Two of the other really notable mentions are ones that are produced by other SunBurn users. One being the stereoscopic rendering, which is really cool. So if you want 3D support in your game, you've got it. Just download the plugin. And if you've got some of the old school sort of red and green 3D glasses, it supports that, so you can add that to your game instantly, and it's literally just download the plugin, install it. I think it's one line of code or something that you have to add, and you've got instant support. But it also supports 3D TVs, and sort of split screen views and things like that. And it's also, the creator of it's also added recently Oculus Rift support. Is there anyone who doesn't know what Oculus Rift is?
That sort of box.
It's the headset, the kind of virtual reality headset, the kind of box, yeah, that's the one, the box that you stick on your head. Yeah. So
you've actually tried it yourself, haven't you?
I've not tried, no, I haven't got an Oculus Rift yet. I don't think we've released it yet, so it was a Kickstarter project. We've got massive support from this.
It's not available outside people's active yet, but it is out.
Right, okay. Excellent. So there are people that
But mind you, they might come around.
So yeah, so there's support for that now. The other notable mention is post-processing library, which again is just a straightforward GUI. Whack it in there, and it just provides you with different post-process effects. So if you don't know what a post-process effect is, things like radial blare, camera motion blur, depth of field, fast approximate anti-aliasing, velocity buffer motion blur, and there's more to come. I think he's going to have God rays, or what's the technical term for God rays, I always forget, crepuscular or something. And there's also SG motion, which is for character animation. So if you've got rigged 3D characters in your game, you can just drop those, use that plugin, and drop the 3D rigged characters straight into your game, and you can animate them and everything. So there's a lot more. There's not a huge amount at the moment, actually, to be honest. And it could really benefit from a lot more support from the users. But I think one of the things it's lacking is a marketplace for these things. So like Unity has got a huge marketplace around add-on features and assets and things like that. I think SunBurn really needs something like that to kind of catch up to it. But it's a great engine, it really is. It's worth giving it a go. The forum support is also just awesome, and that's one thing that really drew me in. But yeah, there's many more in the pipeline, some of which we're going to produce. So things like input controllers, camera controllers, and things like that. So I'm going to give myself a bit of a breather there. Just show you. This is a video I got on YouTube of the physics plugin I developed.
First of all, let's suspend physics updates in the battery control panel. Now drag generic scenes to into the scene. Let's rename the scene entity as body part 1. Now add a physics component to this entity. For this demonstration, we'll use a glass. Make sure that this dynamic is turned off, otherwise it will react to visions when you turn the physics back on. But just the dimensions of the physics position as we go. Create any other physics components in the same way.
This was the one I forgot. Compound body. So you can actually create physics meshes from multiple more simple shapes. So you can, for instance, put multiple boxes together to create a convex shape or a concave shape rather.
let's move these physics components to one side so we can see what happens when we create the compound model. Select the components we require to make the compound body and select the physics components and put them in. Right click on the target symbol here and add a vector compound body. Right click on the compound body component and select paste into compound body.
Would it be possible to have the volume up slightly? Ah, yeah.
Make any necessary final adjustments.
That's the next plugin. What's the plugin?
Gary's got a plugin.
So that's just an example of the physics plugin that I've produced just to kind of extend on the built-in physics. This is just an example of the vehicle plugin. Don't have this one off.
Creating a vehicle using the SunBurn vehicle plugin is quite simple. We'll start by assuming you've already followed one of the other tutorials and created a physics component around your vehicle using the Catholic Physics plugin. In this example, I'm using a convex talkback vehicle from a previous tutorial. Right-click on the physics component and select Make Vehicle from the plugin menu. In the current version of SunBurn, we have to manually refresh the editor before proceeding in order to see the new view appearing. Basic wheel quantity into the scene for each wheel required, selecting the appropriate model in the dialog window. Place the wheels where you require them.
Stick this wheel back.
Demonstrations we're doing by the new problem. sort of demo.
That's all.
The GLE one. And it's sort of similar to Habit. They've got them like with tiny little cubes, and they're stacking up in a huge pyramid, or maybe buildings out of individual blocks that just all balance together. They have like huge things rolling into them, or sand is another one, like really like liquid, but more kind of chunky, having glass like very factually shattered.
That sounds impressive, but that's feels like
You can do a single cube, it's just a case of like copy and paste to make a two-dimensional pyramid.
yeah, it's not that straightforward because you can't just replicate an object in that sense because it would be too slow for the process. You have to do some instancing, which is it's
Before you touch the trees, make sure the center blocks are aligned where you wish the suspension to start. Right-click on the vehicle component and select Attach Wheels from the plugin menu. Dialog box and click on Attach.
there's a reason the wheels weren't there at the moment.
Wheels are now
You have to
attached.
position them where you want the suspension to start.
Any
Or
adjustments to the suspension wrestling or attachment point
So you
can
change
be made
the
by
wrestling it into the suspension, so actually what the wheels there.
When the suspension bottoms out, then it's going to look great.
Yeah, it doesn't actually interact with the vehicle itself, so it will just go through.
The Newcom ones look like years and years ago, so you can get like Habit working with it or something like that.
It's probably been licensed through the association. Anyway, so I'm going to skip on because that
program from within the building.
gives you an idea of how it works and the editor, I won't go into any great detail about this, but essentially, I like it because it gives you most of the kind of screen real estate to your game. So as you can see there, most of the screen that shows your game, and then it just kind of sits around the side. So on the left hand side you've got your content repository, which includes all your models and audio and prefabs and stuff like that, and then custom scene types that might have generated in C#. On the right hand side you've got the scene hierarchy, so that's all your scene objects currently existing in your scene, which you can click on and manipulate. And then at the top you get information about whatever scene object you clicked on, what you can manipulate, details, position and stuff like that. So that's just a closer look at the scene objects tab. So you go in and you follow and position where you see it, visibility standard. Also, lights. So again, similar to the scene objects, lights obviously. And if you select that tab in the right hand, like the scene hierarchy, scene object hierarchy will change to showing lights instead of scene objects. Materials, so that's all texturing and stuff. Environments, file HDR, camera speed and stuff is associated purely with the editor functionality rather than the game functionality. like that, or you like seeing say like that. And then sort of statistics that you want to see if you get them to run a bit slowly, you'll find out what's going on. So just a few notable games that are using SunBurn at the moment. First is one called Orbitron Revolution by a company called 5 based in the States. And it's just kind of a traditional old school side-scrolling shooter. Shoot 'em up. But it looks great, you know, the visuals are really good. They've obviously got some talent there. And another one that they produced more recently, which is Arcade Craft, which I love, because it's like you start off with an empty amusement arcade, you have a certain amount of money, and you have to kind of build up the amusement arcade, buy machines. So I'm real kind of serious about that. Holophone 3D, which is quite cool, which uses the stereoscopic renderer plugin. So that works on Windows Phone 7. But to briefly describe it, it's kind of almost like a TARDIS in your phone. So it's just an optical illusion. So it uses the phone's gyro sensors to sense the movement of the phone and changes the image on the phone itself to give the illusion that there's actually depth inside the phone sort of thing. I'll not show it to you later if you like. But it's quite cool.
So can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
That's just on Windows Phone 7?
Yes, it is.
But you said that you couldn't see anything positive about Windows Phone 7.
Well, it's a bit of a
I
gimmick.
would love that on Android.
Oh, okay. Well, each to their own. I mean, it's a bit of a gimmick. After minutes, it's got no particular use, but
Would it
yeah,
not work with?
fair point.
Would it not work with Mono? Basically, nothing on Android or.
I'm sure it could. I mean, one with SunBurn now, because SunBurn is dependent upon XNA.
There's a port of XNA called Mono Game as well.
Yes, but
If you've got a source code, you could run
I
it.
don't know if SunBurn itself would actually run using a port of XNA because of any internals that might rely on the actual genuine XNA rather than I don't know. I've not seen anyone do it or heard of it.
You need to recompile. You need to rebuild the system. It wouldn't run
but
just.
like I say, the next version of SunBurn will be XNA independent, so you could easily do that with Mono. And the last one, Star Ride, which is on Steam Green Light, which looks quite visually nice. Not much like that.
Do you know if that looks like it's like FTL?
I think it is. I think from what I've heard, it's similar to that.
It's good.
Yeah, it's quite nifty. So that's my first bit done. Very good. Hopefully none of you fallen asleep just yet. Now I just wanted to So now I just want to talk about the visual scripting framework a bit, which is the tool I developed, which kind of came out of my frustration really with learning game development and trying to build my own game. So yeah, I'll try and keep it brief because I don't want to kind of send anyone to see. First of all, I just wanted to get people's feedback on the right-hand side there. I've got the existing logo at the top, which you might see on the website. And we've got a potential new one underneath it, and I just wanted to get some feedback on whether people like the top one or the bottom one. So, Tom, if you like the top one, stick your hand up. Okay, and if you prefer the bottom one, stick your hand up. Okay. I get You guys are designers, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because that was done by a designer, so. That's interesting. Thank you. So, come on, what's going on? So, visual scripting framework, like I say, it was kind of born out of my frustration while trying to build my own game. And I was trying to basically put together a cutscene within the game. So I've got a couple of animated characters and I want them to tell a story within the game. And my original intention was to hard-code it, just hand-code it in its entirety from scratch, being very naive about things. So I started out doing that and soon discovered that I was entering the whole before long I got to the point where I was changing things in code, compiling, running the game, seeing if it was right. No, it's not quite right. So stop getting back to the code, tweak things in the code, compile it, and run it. No, it's not quite right. Back to the code. And I was just spending hours and hours data. So it would have taken me forever. It's got to get out. So I thought there's got to be a better solution to doing this. And there is. This is nothing unique. I was aware of certain visual scripting tools, so like the Unreal Engine has got Kismet, which is obviously what professionals use, which looks very nice. Is it? Have you used it or?
It's only really good for lab these days.
Right.
You don't use more comments than that. You don't do it in Unreal Code. We don't. Using Unity, and then you can write components and
Yeah.
I think Java as well, and they haven't crossed over.
Okay, that's interesting. This is kind of a bit of a crossover between the so yeah, seeing Kismet, so Unreal, I thought that was nice. I am very visual brain. That's how I work. So I saw that, and I've seen Uscript and Playmaker from Unity as well. I thought, yeah, that's a similar kind of thing. Like that. I want something like that for XNA. So I was sure that somebody has done this before. So I did many a Google search, only to find out no one's done it. So either no one wants it, or just no one's going around to do it. So I thought, okay, I'll have a go at do it myself. So I set about building the visual scripting framework. And this is what I eventually put together. Now, like I said, originally it was designed to bring together cutscenes, which I did, and it allows you to build scripts while the game is running. So it's not essentially like a scripting language like Lua or something like that. I didn't really see the point of that, because to me, C# is like a scripting language. It's so easy to understand anyway. What's the point of having another scripting language on top of that? So I didn't really want to go down that route. For me, this is a way of scripting events together within the scene. However, I wanted to make it, as I say, the game engine agnostic. So although I use SunBurn, there's a lot of people, a lot of XNA users, not doing that. Let's go there's a lot of XNA users, especially quicker, that don't use SunBurn and might have their own homebrew game engines that they might want to use it with. Because I thought, well, if I'm developing this, I'm going to spend months doing it. I need to get a bit more value out of it than just moving it. So that was one of the sort of driving factors for doing it that way. It allows for quick and easy integration into your existing workflow again. You couldn't really dictate the work in a certain way. It allows you to make your own script elements. You can even create packs of script elements which you can then package up and distribute to the users. It's got a nice, simple sort of visual editor which sits on the desktop, so you have a game in one window, a visual scripting editor in another window, and it's really simple. Just clean and nice and easy to use. You basically build your scripts on Windows, on desktop, and then you can deploy it on Xbox 360 and Windows Phone 7, because obviously it's dependent on XNA at the moment, with version 1. So, yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. So the present situation, version 1, which is already released, sort of mid last year, is, like I say, dependent on XNA framework, which, as we know now, is kind of dying, so that will change as I come to it. So the usual platform targets there. As I say, it's got a nice clean editor, script element tags, which I've kind of done this slide, haven't I, already. But the main feature for me that I like is that you can really decide what level of detail that you want to work at. So you decide how granular you want to create a script. So basically a script is just built of script elements and then connectors which connect them. So if you're with Kismet or UScript or Playmaking, you kind of understand the concept. Each element has a set of inputs and outputs and/or outputs. And then you just kind of connect those together with the connectors and those. Well, for me, being visually minded, it's an easier way of piecing together events when you get. So as an example, that's the script. But this is an example of what I mean by you decide what level to work at. Because that script basically makes a light screen like that, and you can switch it on and off with a key press. And you look at that and you think, oh my god, that looks a bit complex. But if you look at each element, you've got things like detect key press, audio source, scene entity, light switch, set rotation, you've got sign generators, cosine generators, an element for adding vectors together. It's all quite at a granular level. Do you know what I mean? It's quite low down and quite granular there. However, you could write exactly the same functionality, put in a script like this. So that was exactly the same as the other script. The main difference is I've got one element there called light sway, and that handles a lot of the functionality of the light sway. So you decide what level you want to work at, because you create your own functionality in there.
Yes, I think this is awesome. A lot of things in programming are more sort of graph-like and sequence-like.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on
how your mind can like arrange these, like the position of all these boxes. If it can work out good sort of arrangement for you, you're just kind of adding things in.
That is one feature I would like to, and I'll touch on that in a bit actually. One feature I would like to put that in. At the moment, you decide where you want everything to be, and you can even, like you see on this connector here, you've got a little grab a bit there, and you can actually just create as many of those as you want and connectors to kind of reboot them around to design the layout as you see fit. So yeah, so that's what I like about it, because I'm visually minded, so that works for me. Some people it might not, but some people like to get stuck into the code, purists, and really just like working with code, and that's fine. But I don't work for me very much.
This is more of a pure way of doing it than with code. The code is fundamentally sort of graph-like in structure. Forcing it into being a sort of list, a sort of sequence, a line, it doesn't really model what's happening very well.
You've probably got a point there. Yeah. But my point was there are coders who like just code.
And lots of text.
Yeah. So each their own. I'll just show you what this does. So the first script, running. Is it going to run? Yes. Here we go. It's a line, sorry. And so that's the more complicated script. That's easy to move on. Right there. And then the second script, which is the simplified one, does exactly the same. Well, I've tweaked it a bit just to make it sway like
Your light sway element,
yes.
Is that a compound element that you've made up?
Yeah,
or does that contain code you've written by hand?
It contains code, and that's what I'm just about to go on to, is how you create these script elements. So, like I say, it's not like a scripting language as such. It's not another language on top of C#, because I've removed it into the contract. So you create all these script elements in C#. This I ask you to put those script elements together into a script while your game's running, and tweak parameters and whatever you like. So what the result of it for me after developing this, when applied to my original scenario of putting together a cutscene for my game. So applying it to my original scenario of creating a cutscene for my game, what was the result? Well, instead of battling with the code for weeks, I managed to put it together in about half an hour. And this was the result. So the script is handling the camera panning across to the left. It hands control to the player. So that's me actually moving across to the right. Takes control back off the player and walks into the well. That's top, by the way. Let's feel any play box. So I don't know, maybe there's better ways of doing it, but for me that was just taking me forever to do it in code. So this just enabled me to do it so easily. Yeah, okay, my art skills aren't the best, but so how do we put a script element together? So just as an example, this is a custom light switch. This is using the lights in the SunBurn game engines. So we've basically got 3 inputs, 2 lights, and a toggle. So when that toggle input receives a true status, it toggles the status of the lights on. If they're on, you go off. If they're off, you go on. So we are getting a bit technical here for non-coders, but basically you've got the class definition. So you create class custom light switch, which is derived from a base script element, which is an abstract class. And as you can see, there's an attribute above that. Probably a bit alien, I don't know. If you're not a C# coder, it might make any sense. But basically, there's an attribute which tells the framework that this is a script element. And that's all you need to do. Once you run your game, the scripting framework knows automatically, okay, I need to make that available in the game. There's nothing else I need to do there. Define a bunch of variables for the lights and the light status. the first property, light 1, all we do is define a property, and above it, put the script element input property attribute against that. That tells the framework that that's an input. And that, again, that's all you need to do. The second light input. Now, the difference here is we've actually got name equals light space 2. All that does is tell the editor that I want to see light space 2 on my element in the editor rather than the name of the property itself. So you can call it whatever you want. It's just an aesthetic thing. And then you've got the toggle switch, which again has got the script element input property attribute assigned to it. And that is kind of all you need to do, really. Framework then just knows automatically that, hey, I've got the script element, these are its inputs. That's it, thanks. Constructor level, I need to say anything about that, it's important. And then we simply just override the update method, which is where you program the logic for that script element. So when the toggle switch, the toggle input rather, receives an input, receives a true status, it then runs the update, calls the update method, and does whatever you want it to do. So in this case, it toggles the status to light. And that's really it. That's all there is to it. So you can make those elements as complex or as simple as you want them to. It's really up to you. So eventually, I just, like I say, I developed it for producing cutscenes, but actually you can use it for a lot more than that. If you can program it in C#, you can use it for whatever you want. At the moment, you have to have the XMA framework. But if you wanted to program a robot, you could use it for that. Or if you've got a home automation system that you could, you've got a C# API for, you could control your home automation system with it. And I eventually came across this post in the XNA GPA forums by a character called the Dog Seraphim. Whatever that is, I don't know. But he had some great things to say about it, and they really kind of blew me away. This was his second post he made. And he basically said, yeah, okay, at first, he had a bit of difficulty getting to grips with it, but once it's clicked, we got everything running smoothly. And as he says, I began developing scripts for every system inside my engine, from audio, scene management, graphics, such as drawing and manipulating, content loading, input, etc. At the end, I was able to actually remove all of my scene classes, and in their place is a file that can be manipulated at whim from in-game. I can create new scenes on a whim and switch between different ones from inside the script file. I can also handle graphical and audio components from the same script, and at the same time handle any input needed and all logical commands needed for the scene. This makes design of menus a lot simpler. My next step is to design a way for the scripting engine to work with my mapping system and actually be able to script advanced events right into my map. So this guy sort of taken it, I just wanted to do cutscenes with it. This guy had taken it and just applied it to every aspect of the game. Now, I wouldn't kind of advise using it for performance critical stuff. It's not really intended for that. But for event driven stuff, it can be really useful. As this guy's done, he's pretty much used it for everything. So yeah, that's surprising that there's a lot of knowledge for that. So quickly moving on to the future of the visual scripting framework. In the short term, we've got version 1.1, which is complete, but I've just not put it up on the website yet. So I've got that to do in the next few days. That seems to become XNA independent, so that obviously opens up to a lot more platforms. So if you're a mono developer, great news. Because I've redesigned it as a PCL, which is a portable class library, which also means you can use it for Windows Store apps. You still develop on desktop, so you've still got the desktop window for your editing stuff, and you can deploy to Windows Store absolutely running on my Windows Surface tablet. Version 2, which will be months away, we'll see a complete redesign basically of the editor. And basically kind of separate the editor from the framework. So the editor will be a standalone executable. Now actually 2 editors. So you'll have a desktop editor and a Windows Store editor. So that kind of makes things a bit more interesting because then potentially I could have my game running on the desktop and edit my scripts on my tablet. Or have my game running on my tablet and edit my scripts on the desktop, or have my game running on one tablet and edit my scripts on another tablet. So I can sit downstairs watching TV, running my game on one tablet and editing my scripts on another. So that's
definitely the best place to design content and program things.
Absolutely.
Inside the game as it's running, because you're already in the content as you're working it out.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it all goes back to my mind working more visually with things, I think. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are very simple. So yeah, there's a few extra advancements that I want to make. So one is grouping script elements, which kind of goes back to your comment a bit. So the idea behind that is you can actually select in the editor a group of script elements and then say, right, I want to group those, and it will combine them down into one script element, automatically determine the inputs and outputs. So it's almost like a black box which then contains other script elements. So it just helps keep the script nice and tidy. There is something you can do at the moment. You can actually call one script from another. There's an element to do that. So he's falling asleep now. I better go. So yeah, anyway. And multiple outputs to a single input. At the moment, debugging abilities would be really useful. And I'm done. So we get to the bottom.
Well, thank you
So thanks for listening.